Shana Tova. This year has brought moments that have just broken my heart open. The weight of Jewish history bearing down on my chest. Let me tell you about one such moment. It was an early summer day at a museum exhibit honoring the victims who were at the Nova Festival on October 7th. I was affected by each artifact from that dark day of violence against Jews. But one made me dizzy, with hot tears running down my face. I saw the pile of shoes recovered from the festival lost and found. These Teva sandals and dusty sneakers, the dead will never reclaim. And they jolted me back to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem. I had a flashback. I'd once gazed through a pane of glass at a seemingly unending pile of shoes of victims of the Shoah. I asked myself then, and I ask myself again today, equal parts angry and mournful. Are we really still here? Piles of shoes of dead Jews? And in the past year, arson at the Pennsylvania governor's residence over Passover, the shooting of 2 people outside the Capitol Jewish Museum, and the firebombing of Jews in Boulder. I ask myself, has anything changed over the decades, centuries, millennia? Or has this hatred just taken on a new form? How have we endured our unique history as Jews? And how will we? We face an anti-Semitism that is old and stubborn, but not always predictable. Harvard law professor Noah Feldman wrote last year for the cover of Time magazine. On the new anti-Semitism, he wrote, "Far from being an unchanging set of ideas derived from ancient faiths, anti-Semitism is actually a shape-shifting, protean creative force that has managed to reinvent itself multiple times throughout history, each time keeping some of the old tropes around while simultaneously creating new ones. In each iteration, Jews are always made to exemplify the worst feature of the social order in which they live. The image that sticks with me is shape-shifting. At once old and new, this Jew hatred. From the pagans to the Christians to the Enlightenment, when a new breed of secular, international anti-Semitism ultimately paved the way for the Holocaust. Modern anti-Semitism then repeats the old themes and also takes on the shape of anti-Zionism. We are living at a time when millions are being urged to see the world in black and white, with only 2 sides, oppressor and oppressed. Professor Feldman argues that the core of this new anti-Semitism lies in the idea that Jews are not a historically oppressed people seeking self-preservation, but instead the claim is that they are the oppressors, imperialists, colonialists, and even white supremacists. So essentially, this view preserves vestiges of the trope that Jews exercise vast power, though it creatively updates that narrative. And so I ask again, are we really still here dealing with this old hatred? Ezra Klein wrote for the New York Times, "Virtually all Jews believe in the adage that anti-Semitism is a light sleeper. It is hard not to hear it awakening. I agree. We have heard it coming. In our history, hatred has come from the religious and secular worlds when we have had relatively less or more power and influence, when we have lived separately from non-Jews, and when we have lived together. As this hatred of Jews has shape-shifted throughout history, our responses have adjusted too. Sometimes we've tried to fit in, to assimilate. Sometimes we have tried to keep away from the spotlight by isolating ourselves. In recent years, we have more often celebrated our distinctiveness. And yet, after October 7th, some Jews fearfully took down their mezuzot, or removed their head coverings, or hid their stars of David. Anti-Semites have made us cower. What gives me hope in our Jewish response to anti-Semitism are two values captured well by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He wrote to President Kennedy in a 1963 telegram during the height of turmoil over the civil rights movement and the Vietnam War. In a line that I remember reading and underlining as a teenager, and that has only become more meaningful as I've grown older, he wrote this: "The hour calls for high moral grandeur and spiritual audacity." Moral grandeur and spiritual audacity. Moral grandeur meaning that it's time to root ourselves in the foundation of our Jewish ethics, our character, our care, our menschlichkeit, our humanity, and to let that core inspire us to courage. And what does spiritual audacity mean? It's time to call forth our strength, our guts, our gall, and the best kind of chutzpah that helped us to survive to this day. We have our foundation of Jewish ethics, and we have this strong Jewish audacity. And when it comes down to it, we're grounded in who we are. We're resilient, and we're bold. It's in our spiritual DNA to be like this. It was audacity when Jacob wrestled all night with the angel, limping and injured, but still fighting for the blessing that he and his family deserved, and earning us all the name B'nai Yisrael. It was audacity, too, when Moses, who was called by the Torah the most humble human on earth, who wasn't even confident that he could speak eloquently, when he stood up to Pharaoh and carried the people through the desert. It was audacity when the daughters of Tzlofchad, who at a time when women were not allowed to inherit land, when they appealed their petition all the way to God, changing the law for generations of women to come. I saw audacity, too, that day at the Nova exhibit, which was excruciating in its depiction using first-hand videos and objects. At the end, I saw family members of the victims huddled around a light installation. Large pink neon letters spelling out the words, "We will dance again." I saw a woman spinning in circles, her head thrown back, her eyes gazing into the desert sky, a colorful dress swirling around her hips. At first I wondered, how could she dance at the site of a massacre? And then I realized, it's that Israeli chutzpah. Maybe they can dance again. And they sure are. At a memorial just 90 days after October 7th, one of the organizers said, "No terrorist can stop our music. It plays on. It's all about lifting our spirits and commemorating our dead. 400 people of all ages danced that day. 2 months later, at a community day in Tel Aviv, survivors and bereaved families joined therapy sessions and creative workshops. You see, first they took care of each other. Then for 7 hours, they danced. One of the DJs wrote on Instagram, "Watching the Nova tribe dance and let loose made me realize just how strong and special they are. We will never stop dancing." I sense that their dancing expresses not a naivete or a denial, but rather a kind of audacity, brave, unbowed, as if saying, "You can take our body, but not our spirit, and not our future. We will dance again, and we won't stop being who we are." Defiant survivors, and also mensches, also good humans, rooted in our values as Jews. You see, it's not just an Israeli trait, this Jewish audacity, but the inheritance of all of us. This past June, a small group of Jews in Boulder walked in solidarity with the hostages, calling their nonviolent gathering "Run for Their Lives." 15 people were attacked with Molotov cocktails, leaving an 82-year-old woman dead and injuring 6, including an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor. Only 1 week later, 15,000 people gathered in downtown Boulder for the city's 30th annual Jewish festival. One participant shared in an NPR interview, "We're not going to let even something so terrible take away our pride, our ability to persevere and to move forward with love." Run for Their Lives has continued to organize solidarity walks in 181 locations all over the world, including here in our own backyard at Bethel. I had the honor to join the Rockville-Bethesda group this past Sunday. And as we walked down Old Georgetown, it was moving to feel not just the group at my side, but the wider community solidarity, including some more Jewish audacity, including supportive car horn honks and thumbs up from passersby, and it really gave us a lot of good strength in that moment. When we are attacked by those who hate us, we Jews harness our powerful audacity grounded in our Jewish values. We always have. I've shared role models from the Torah and our modern heroes from the Nova Festival and from Boulder, Colorado, and from all over the world. Now I ask us today, what would be our version of those pink neon words, "We will dance again"? How will we do that? It takes audacity in this age of hatred to lean into who we are, to call out an anti-Semitic comment, to write a letter to the editor, or even for some, to wear a Star of David to work. It takes audacity to say out loud, "We stand with Israel," and to say at the same time, "Our heart breaks for Palestinians." It takes audacity to build our Jewish community when we feel so under attack. This means to open our backyards for students to decorate the sukkah, to make a shiva call after a long day of work, or to bring matzo ball soup when a friend gets home from the hospital. It takes audacity to do tshuva. We're in the season for tshuva, and it's difficult any year, but especially when we're in these painful times. To look someone in the eye, to make amends, to ask for forgiveness, or to answer to stand opposite the person who hurt you, to hear their amends, and then to offer the forgiveness they seek. So you see, there are so many ways for us to live and thrive as Jews. There are so many ways for us to dance again. And I keep thinking of those neon words that the families were gathering around. I'll close with a postscript, or my friend likes to call this a coda. Another image of everyday items that surprised me with meaning, like the piles of shoes that kicked me in the guts at the Nova Festival exhibit and years ago at Yad Vashem. On Karen and my dining room table, right next to where our Shabbat candles sit, is a little candlestick with a yellow ribbon for the hostages. And inside sits a leftover Yizkor candle from Yom HaShoah, from Holocaust Remembrance Day, that has a little yellow star that reads Jude across the side. And I don't think either of us combined the two symbols intentionally. Someone was just tidying up one day and put that candle into that candlestick. The Holocaust Yizkor candle, draped in a yellow ribbon, asks me every day to confront the complicated layers of hatred that we face as Jews. And my answer, at least for now, is to light that candle of sorrows with our own strongest, natural, and holy gifts. Our Jewish audacity, grounded in our menschlichkeit, our strength and our courage, rooted in our humanity. Shana Tova u'Metuka. May our new year be good and sweet.